Hello and welcome to the Peak Endurance Podcast. We are the Tates.
We are, yes.
And sorry, that's funny,
I
isn't
was wondering how you're going to do
it? And here we are to talk about the Prom 100K, number 3 of 12 100K races that I'm going to be doing in a 12-month period. And yes,
that.
we have notes.
Yes, we do. We
See?
finally decided to put something on paper so
Rather
we
than
don't
just talking
ramble on.
forever,
Oh,
but we'll probably still ramble, but that's okay. So yes, this was number 3 and 4 weeks for me after Buffalo, 5 weeks after Oxfam. For you, it was 5
Yep,
weeks after Oxfam.
yep.
And the closest together you've ever done hundreds.
Oh, it was months, 5 months,
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah.
yeah. I've done this before,
Mm.
but you haven't.
No.
So we were a little bit wary, but
Yeah,
that's okay. We're going to be doing it
yeah,
again because you're going to be doing Ultra Adelaide, which
that's
is
right. So
July, May.
yeah,
Well, that's a bit
a little
longer
bit
for
longer.
you. Then yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely longer than 5 weeks.
yeah,
And I've got 6 weeks this time until Princess Park. Then 2 weeks after that is Ultra Adelaide.
yeah.
Rightio. So anyway, we entered the prom under the disillusion that, or the illusion, I don't know, that not too much climbing because we saw it was around 3.5, 3.6
Yep.
elevation, and you think, well, not too much climbing, it won't take too long, it'll be okay.
Yeah, we kind of compared it because elevation wise it was very similar to Oxfam. So we
And we knew
kind
it
of
would be more technical than
yeah,
Oxfam because Oxfam was, streets and that kind
yeah,
of stuff, but still,
yeah. We basically went into it, basically thinking that it was going to be something similar to Oxfam
and especially in difficulty level.
as far as effort went. Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, were we wrong?
We were
Now, first
very
of all right, so we arrived on the Friday. We were going to be camping, but
mm,
the weather was looking really crappy.
yeah,
And when we say camping, well, in the car,
yeah,
which means, you've got to kind of have everything in the car with you and there's not much space. And if the weather's not good, you're kind of, because you can't even sit in the front seats because everything's pushed
yeah. You got to
forward
push the seats forward
to
to
be
fit
able to
the
put the
bed in.
bed in. And so
Yeah,
it's like, and we saw the weather was going to be bad. So I when we were leaving Queensland, I emailed Paul and went, oh, we might take you up on that accommodation if there's still something available. So we did.
yeah.
So we had accommodation,
Which made it so
thankfully,
much easier.
because it absolutely poured on Friday night.
Yeah, we were able, once we got there and we checked in, for our race, um, checked out, got our mandatory kit checked and everything like
Mm.
that. We basically went to the accommodation and we were able to prepare our dinner in
Yeah.
comfort and eat it in comfort.
And prepare our packs. And I was
Yeah,
able to stretch and do all those things,
yeah,
in comfort
mm,
and sleep snug in bed, listening to the rain pouring on the roof
that's right.
and think, thank the Lord, we're not like the
Yeah,
Julies.
and it was pouring. And while just after we'd finished our dinner, we were chilling out, getting ready for bed. The Julies came in after having
Drenched.
after having tried to prepare their food
Yeah.
at their campsite. They came into the accommodation to prepare their food in the dry.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yes, they certainly had some watery adventures, rain-filled
Yes,
adventures.
when we refer to the Julies, it was Julie as a party and
Julie
Julie Frank.
Frank. Yes.
So
Yes. Anyway, so then, we got up bright and early and it
yeah,
wasn't raining. Woo-hoo.
no, it was actually the rain almost
Right up until start time.
right up until
Because even when we
the
walked out to go to the start, it was kind of spitting, nothing
yeah,
terrible though.
no,
So
not enough to put a coat on or anything.
no,
Just
no. And it wasn't that cold. It was 9 degrees, so definitely t-shirt weather.
yeah,
We didn't even need gloves or anything like
no,
that.
no, no.
So oh golly, sorry, I'm still tired. Pardon
It's
my
now
morning.
yeah, that's right. It's now Monday afternoon
Monday, well,
or
evening, 4
evening.
to
Yeah,
6.
and we're still a little bit tired from our
Yeah,
efforts.
yeah. So yeah, so anyway, the start went off and shout out to Mel Tech who called out, go Isabel. She got there just in time, but just missed saying hello to me, but that's okay. She was racing in the 27K and did really
Yeah,
well too. So yeah, off we went off in the dark and the rain and well, not rain, dark and drizzle.
drizzle. Yeah, it was a
And
little bit drizzly.
I think more. It was just a little bit of moisture in
Yeah,
there, I guess.
yeah.
And so you go out along the flat road a bit just to get out of the campsite, and then you head up the road, up Bitumen Road, to get to the fire trail that leads to the single track.
Yeah. So you basically go up to a saddle between the mountains, and then it turns into fire road on the other side.
Yeah, and it was beautiful, clear fire road, and we were kind of like, oh, we thought it was going to be single track. Oh, I wish it was single track. Yeah. Those words came back to haunt us.
And we passed the aid station, and the course immediately turned into single track.
Yes, and oh my God. And we did the 40, whatever it was, because it always changes.
I think it was 44 when we did
44, and I don't even know what year it was that we did it.
It was 20
because it was between lockdowns. And my memory, it was December.
It was. That's right. Yes,
because
it had been cancelled due to COVID and rescheduled for later in the year.
Yeah, and we just forgot how hard it was, basically.
Yeah.
And I've done the 60 before there, and you've run it just for fun. Yeah. So we've done the trails. We know the trails, but oh no, we forgot.
Completely.
It's like giving birth. You just forget. It was way more technical than we accounted for.
Yeah.
And technical with, roots and with rocks. And like we noticed, one thing we really noticed was the terrain was constantly changing.
Yeah.
What was the word? I've forgotten the word. You see, my brain doesn't work. What's the word for the different environments? Ecosystems. Yeah. Thank you. Because, sometimes it would feel like you're in rainforest, and other times it felt like we're in the Dandies, and other times it's beachy, and, it was just, it was absolutely stunning. And the single track, it was difficult, but it was stunning and beautiful, beautiful single track. Like really nice, but hard,
very, very rocky. There was some, big steps up, some,
should have definitely done some stair training or something.
That's right. And it was very undulating. So, once we got past the first beach section and turned towards Sealer's Cove, it was either up or down. It wasn't flat. There was
no flat.
It's funny if we said it felt like we were climbing the whole time on the way to Sealer's Cove, and then it felt like we were climbing the whole time back.
Yeah, it did.
Back the other way.
Because it was like, oh great, we turn around, it's all going to be downhill. Oh no, it was all bloody climb. What? How does that work? It's like whenever we go for a run, doesn't matter what direction we're going in, we get a headwind.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately for some people, they missed the turn off for Sealer's Cove. Which means they lost a 28-kilometre out and back, which means they wouldn't have got 100K, which is, and it was about 10 people. So it really highlights the importance of doing your due diligence, checking the maps, bringing maps. We had the printed copy like we had to, but I had downloaded the GPX and put it on an app called GPX Reader so that I could open it up and check it anytime. Where we were, that we were on track. And I had my phone on airplane the whole time to conserve battery. So it's not like, you needed anything. And also there's not a lot of coverage down there.
No.
And that's really draining for your battery if it's searching for coverage all the time. And I knew there wasn't much coverage. So I just put it on airplane. And there was no issues with seeing where we were on course, and we never got lost. If ever we had a query, we just looked. Yeah,
it works. It's very much a digital version of apps like Avenza. So it shows you like a map of the course, and then it has a blue dot of
so I think it's called GPX Viewer or something like that, and it's free. But you're only allowed about 3 maps at a time. But I just delete them. So we didn't, and you had done the due diligence, and I'd looked at the maps, but because I was running with you, I was a bit lazy and relied on you, and you knew to turn there. But basically, if you're doing these kind of races, because the Paul Ashton races tend to be more self-supported, the Running Wild ones, you've got to know where you're going, and you've got to check the maps. When I used to, when I was running races on my own, like Alpine Challenge, I had those maps memorized. I knew exactly what I was doing, because you've got to know.
Yeah.
It's self-responsibility.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately these people maybe didn't realize that that's what they had to do. I don't know, but I always think you really should do that sort of thing.
Yeah, because we noticed that, we saw everyone start, but then when we did this big out and back basically it was
30 people at the start, and then we did the back, and there was like 10 or 15.
Yeah, there was like 15 people, and we're like, where did everyone go?
Yeah.
You know, because it's such a long out and back, you literally have to pass everyone.
You have to. There's no way anyone could get through.
Yeah. So
without seeing everybody.
So yeah, and we were like, you know, half the field's missing. Where have they gone?
Yeah, and all we could figure was that they'd gone the wrong
way,
which is unfortunate for them.
Yeah.
You know, and like we saw Fleur later on, and was it Fleur?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had
missed a different turn off, and you know, and she knew that, and she was okay about it, but you know, she was a bit spewing too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, and it happens, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So sorry, just gonna have a sip, bit thirsty.
But yeah, because
no, it's not wine, it's just water.
No, just water today.
Yes, that's plenty.
Because of where it is, it's, you know, basically it does a lap of Wilson's promontory, and the views are just amazing.
And the white sand and the beautiful blue water, and you know, and the rocks, and like when we came over Refuge Cove, there was a couple of yachts there, and it was just like, it was just beautiful.
It was funny. We were saying, you know, because we've just spent a week in Port Douglas, and we were saying how the coast and the water actually looked more inviting here than it did in Queensland.
Just the temperature wasn't
know that it's going to be freezing if you actually dipped a toe in the water.
Yeah,
but you know, it was nice and aqua, and it was, you know, there wasn't a lot of wind, so it was nice and calm, and it just looked, you know, idyllic.
Yeah, and the beautiful white sand. Like you didn't get nice white sand like that at Port Douglas.
No.
So anyway, you know, it's just funny, isn't it?
It's just about 10 degrees. The water's about 10 degrees cooler.
Oh, and the rest.
Maybe 15.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's an absolute stunning course, and I highly recommend it in spite of it being super, super tough. And so, you know, both of us are nursing sort of foot issues. Ron with his bunionette, which I still think he actually probably should get checked out, because, you know, as clever as I am at being Dr. Google, you know, probably better to actually speak to someone who knows what they're talking about, because I know a lot about running, but I'm no physio. And my heel, I've had it worked on. I had, you know, I was told it was tight calf, tight plantar. It's not plantar fasciitis, but tight plantar, tight calves, and they ripped into it, and that did improve it for a couple of days before the race, but then it's gotten worse since, and it was hurting during the race.
Well, we were about 7 or 8 Ks in, and you actually stubbed your toe.
No, it wasn't the stomach. That was when we were heading out to the lighthouse. I just sort of rolled my foot a bit.
Oh, that's right.
Oh my God, the agony. And that's what started it. It was fine. But it's like, it was so painful. I had to stop, didn't I? And everyone went past us, and I was just like, I couldn't even run. I was in so much pain. That was horrible.
Yeah.
It's a really intense pain, like when the shoe moves on it and that sort of stuff. So I had to tighten my shoes up and pull my socks up and you know, grit my teeth and keep going. And every now and then, and I have to admit I took some Panadol, but every now and then it would just suddenly, later as we were heading towards the lighthouse, I stubbed my toe, I kicked a rock, and obviously my foot contracted because even my heel started hurting again. And it was like, holy moly. But yeah, so that was a bit of an issue for us. But you know, nutrition went well for me. Like, you know, last time at Buffalo I couldn't eat. This time, once again, I'd had my back worked on. I think it was Kaz Donovan who commented on the post. I think it was Kaz. I'm hopeless. I should have checked.
It was.
It was. Who said she'd had her back worked on, and that helped. And I did. And ever since then, I haven't been having those terrible GI issues. And the race was fine. And I mean, you know, obviously I didn't feel like gorging on a buffet, but, you know, and I bought the morning before the races,
this is our new nutrition advice. And
4 bacon and egg McMuffins from the local Macca's. Wrap them up in Glad wrap. I was telling my daughter about it, and she was absolutely horrified. She thought that was terrible, and she's no nutritionist. I am. But you know, the McMuffin, to be fair, was dry as the desert sand. But
I mean, it kind of is when you buy it fresh.
It is kind of.
But then when you
eat it a day later,
keep it in a refrigerator overnight, and then keep it in your backpack for the 6 hours of work.
Mind you, I was eating mine after 2 hours.
But then you had your other one as well later on.
But they went down well, went down a treat.
Yeah.
I also had, on the Thursday night at home, we'd had pasta with some bolognese sauce, and I just put some of that in a Ziploc bag and had that. Didn't have any gels. I didn't have any sugar of any kind except for a cup of, I had a few sips of Coke at the 80K aid station.
And you also, I don't know how much, but you ate, you ate about
a little nibble of the Cliff Bar, and that's when I had to. I also bought something called Gastro Stop that I just heard about because I was. So let's go back, take a step back. I started to feel really dizzy on the single track, like really, really dizzy.
Yeah.
And it just kept getting worse and worse. And it wasn't dehydration because I was drinking. And I took some Cliff Bar because I thought maybe it was lack of sugar, although I was getting sugar from the carbs. It wasn't, but it did set off my stomach again. So I took something called Gastro Stop. And you chew 2 tablets. Were actually quite yummy, as you recall. Minty. They were minty. I was all minty fresh after that. And it actually freshened my mouth, which made me feel so much better. But it helped. Oh, my God, it helped. And then a bit later, when my stomach felt a little bit dodgy again, I took another one, probably like 5 hours later. And it said you can do that. So I read all the instructions beforehand. And my stomach was gold. So give that a try. If you've tried, I mean, I don't go for medication as the first thing, but if you've tried everything else, like I have, but to be fair, I'd done all the right things. Like we had discussed that maybe I should take it before the race as a preventative, but I just wanted to see because sometimes when you do all these things, you don't know what works.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see if eating, just savory things worked, and it did. And it was as soon as I ate something sweet that
the other thing you did differently is you had soy milk on your breakfast.
So I'm lactose intolerant, and so I have lactose-free milk. But I'm finding even lactose-free milk makes me feel queasy these days. So I went soy, and that was so much better. Like I didn't feel sick even at the start. So it was really good. And so that's why I wanted to not take the medication as well, just to see what worked. And I'd prefer not to take things as a preventative if I can help it. But the Gastro Stop helped when I started to feel a bit iffy. But the dizziness. So it wasn't sugar because the dizziness stayed. I do have an issue with dizziness. I get it on and off regularly. I find, like at the old place where we used to live, I'd run out go to start running up the street and would just run into the fence when I'm feeling that dizziness. And I would find I'd have to look just at the footpath. And it's something something I've had for years, not sure if it's Meniere's disease, which is why I have tinnitus and hearing loss in my left ear. So yes, if ever you do talk to me and I don't hear you, I don't wear I actually have a hearing aid. I don't wear it when I run. The hearing aid helps a little bit with the hearing loss, but also I can hear better so I don't have to hear the tinnitus as loud. But when I get tired, like in runs, the tinnitus gets worse and it gets very screamy. I mean, it's screaming now, but it gets even more screamy. But they're not sure if the dizziness is from that or I've got a cyst on my brain. So we're getting a brain scan this week because the dizziness has been bad. Getting a brain scan this week to figure things out. But yes, the dizziness was there, but it did get better at night. I was telling Ron because, all the distractions were gone. I had the head torch on. All I could see was in front of me, like when I look at the footpath. Yeah. There weren't things passing by my head. So, that sort of vertigo dizziness, it was, so that really helped. The nighttime was much better and I didn't feel the dizziness at all. Or not as bad,
Yeah.
But if you ever see me in a race, you'll find that when I stop, I stumble about a lot. And that's not because of fatigue. That's because of the dizziness I get. And it's happened at all races. And I often get medics quite concerned or wanting to pull me, but it's just me and my dizziness.
So
that was that.
And water. Now, one of the things with this race is it is pretty much self-sufficient. There are some water tanks for the campers around. Some of them were not so nice.
Because like some of the campers said, "Oh, don't drink out of it; it's green."
So we did take extra, like we took 1.5 liters each.
Yeah.
And once we got to the lighthouse, which was at around 55-ish kilometres.
Yeah.
There was a really nice water source there on the side of the lighthouse. So we were able to fill up our bottles, except Isabel only filled up one bottle.
I forgot because I went to the toilet, not because I was sick, but I was busting. And I was meant to fill up my electrolytes, and like the goose that I am.
Yeah. So, and you
even said, "Are you all filled up? Are you?"
Yeah. When you ran back towards me while I was waiting, I said, "Are you right? Have you filled up your water? You're all good." Yep. So needless to say, and there was another,
and we got like 500 meters further down this steep hill, and I went, "Oh my God, I forgot to fill up my electrolytes," and Ron wouldn't go back and do it for me.
It was a very steep hill. So, needless to say, by the time we got back to the aid station, which was about 70 kilometers, Isabel was dry. Very dry.
Oh my God.
And so
I was like delirious from thirst.
So she filled up
the 70 kilometers, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, I thought you said 80.
No, 70. And so she filled up her water bottle at the aid station, took one mouthful and just about sprayed it across the aid
the lady. It was so disgusting. It was beyond just chlorinated. There was even some other chemical. I can't even imagine what the hell it was.
Which was fine for me. I was happy to drink that. But
the guy there was really nice because I'm like, I don't drink that. And she goes, yeah, sorry, it's tidal river water. And the guy said, there's a creek, about 4 Ks up. It's not the first bridge, the second bridge. So he made it very clear which one it was. He said, you can drink that. So we ran along, and because of my dizziness, I had to get Ron to walk down to the creek.
I had to hop off the bridge, fallen in. Hop off the bridge and crawl down to the water.
And he's like, "It's orange."
I was looking into it with my head torch, and it was looking quite orange. And I'm like, "Are you sure?" So I filled up the bottle. I had a bit of a sip just to make sure it didn't taste too foul. And so I said, I think that tastes all right. I gave it to Isabel, and she didn't even test it. She just sculled it.
I was so thirsty. As long as it didn't taste like chlorine, I didn't care. It could have tasted like whatever,
dead sheep,
which is that nice sweet taste. But I just can't stand chlorine. Oh my God.
So she sculled it, and then I filled it up again, and
and then I felt so much better. Like I'd literally, when you get so thirsty, you almost feel a bit manic. And that's how I was feeling. Like I need water so bad, and I couldn't eat because my McMuffin was as dry as a desert.
So you couldn't in the end, you couldn't eat it without.
And you also just generally need water to digest food. But I definitely could not eat that McMuffin with. Oh my God, no! So therein lies the problem with the McMuffin. Maybe we need to sprinkle water on it. I don't know what to do because other than that, it works beautifully.
I mean,
maybe it's good because it also gets you to drink water.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, yes, I'd forgotten about that whole river episode.
So
then, oh my God, then we went up the hill.
We went up, we had from there, I don't know, a 2 or 3 kilometre uphill.
And which is when Fleur went past us because she was obviously full of beans by then because she was a bit upset about having missed it.
Missed the turn off,
because we had been ahead of her before she missed the turn off anyway. But then we went down the bitumen hill. Yeah,
so once you get through the saddle, you start heading down the hill back towards Tidal River, and it's
2K.
Yeah, it's about 3K. 3K solid downhill. Just
we're just taking it easy, cruisy. Yep.
Which was really good. It's nice to, I guess, turn the brain off and not have to think about where you're going. And
which can be a mistake, though.
It turned out to be a bit of a mistake because we turned the corner onto the main road into Tidal River, and they've just done a bit of roadworks where they've laid down that
oh my God, awful chunky.
Where they put the tar down and then they sprinkle the stones on top.
And just leave it.
And leave it. And Isabel turned the corner from the nice, flat, smooth tarmac and tripped on the stones. Literally,
we've done all this technical stuff.
It was about 2 millimeters rise.
And Isabel went down like a bag of shit.
She tripped on the stones, and she couldn't have picked the worst surface to fall on because it was grey city.
Painful. And I've got this huge bruise on my hand that goes from my wrist almost up to my fingers, and that's on the hand that's not cut. And my knee got cut quite deeply, and it was just so painful. I'm lying there.
She lay there like a turtle. It was quite. I didn't want to laugh because she was in a lot of pain, but she lay on the ground like a turtle.
And he's going,
And she's like, can you help me up? I was like, well, yeah, but I'm just waiting for you to,
feel better
and offer me a hand to help you up. Because she was like, she had her legs and her knees in the air. Sorry, her hands and her knees in the air like a turtle.
Because they were so painful. I'm like, and so you got me up, and then you're like, what do you want to do? And I just ran away from you, didn't I? I'm running
I was calling to her saying, if you stop, I can have a look, but she just kept on running.
I'm like, I don't want to look. I don't want to think about it. I just want the pain to stop. And you know what it's like, and I just wanted the pain to stop because it's cold hands. Because like it was cold.
Yeah.
And cold hands on the hard bitumen, and there was this big flap of skin hanging off my hand, and it was bleeding. And but the hand that wasn't bleeding was the actual one that hurts worse, which is why there's such a huge bruise.
Yeah.
And we just kept going. It was just like,
because it was only, from there it's about a kilometre, not even a kilometre, back to the start finish line. Which was the aid station.
Which was the infamous aid station that you've been dreading for like 2 weeks, just about having nightmares.
We had this discussion, and it's something that I've always, I think the last time we were at the race, I was thinking about it, thinking, imagine doing 80 kilometres, having to pass through the start finish, and then having to make that decision. It was dark, night time's already fallen, and you've got to make that decision to go out for another 20 kilometers. And even
because that didn't bother me, it just doesn't.
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
and I know. Went back when we were, I don't know, 30 or 40 kilometers in, and I was having a really low moment.
You were, because you weren't eating. That's what I wanted to bring up. You were having a low moment because you weren't eating. Because I noticed you started slowing down, and you were sort of grunting a bit more than usual.
Yeah.
Even more. Sure. And I'm like, have you eaten? And you're like, no.
and I was, at that point, I was going, I just don't know if I can go past the 80K.
No,
I don't know. I don't know if I can do it.
Block for you.
It was.
And I don't think it was even the energy. It was just a real mental block. Yeah. We'd been talking about it for a couple of weeks. And part of the reason you were unsure about doing the race was because of that.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a huge mental block for you. So well done for.
But yeah, and then once I got some food in, and I was properly, I'd drunk lots of water and stuff like that, then there was no real doubt that I was, not going to go. I'm
actually glad that you didn't let it stop you.
And once we got to the aid station, I'd never even entertained the idea of not.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 20. It was only 22 more Ks. Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, so
like honestly,
it's just that mental.
Yeah, I get
barrier of what's coming and how is it going to go, how is it going to play.
Yeah,
but yeah, once we got there, and I didn't even really think about it, to be honest.
Yeah, so then we headed off on the 20K loop, and that's when we were running with Luke, John, and Sarah.
Yeah,
and shout out to Luke.
With Sarah, we'd kind of leapfrogged her a couple of times. We were running basically.
She's lovely
at the same pace, so she would be in front of us for a little while, and then she would, we'd passed her at the lighthouse, and then she caught up to us again a little bit after that. So we ran together for a while, and then we kind of
we chatted a lot on there, out and back to South Point.
Yeah.
No. So then we were in a group.
Yeah, the five of us, which was nice.
And one thing discussed with Luke was, we were talking about recovery and all those sorts of things, and the fact that, a lot of people obsess about all the expensive recoveries like cryotherapy or those compression boots or whatever it is, when really the basics are food, sleep, and water. And that's really all you need to do. My recovery time's improved.
Yeah, lovely.
Sorry, my watch just told me I'm improving by recovering. And how important it is to focus on those things. And really, it's 100% true. Like, you don't have to spend $1 bajillion on recovery. All these races I'm doing, I'm not doing anything special for recovery except sleep, food, the water I'm not so good at. So I don't really like drinking water, but I do make myself as much as possible. Right. And they are the basics. That's really all the human body needs. It's not that fancy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to go into that. And it was John's first 100K.
Yep.
He was doing super duper well and was in a really positive frame of mind. And what I really liked was Luke has done 100K before, and he's done Surf Coast Century, and you can tell we had a really good chat. He just started running with John at the start of the race, and they ran.
They didn't know one another before the race.
Ran the whole race together, and really helping each other. I could hear Luke going, "Is this pace okay?" And they're checking on each other. And I just thought, this is what is so awesome about ultra running? Like, I just think it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just such a great way to reaffirm that people are good, and that there is good people out there. Anyway, so they sort of so we got down off Mount Bishop then, because that was the Lily Pilly Loop, and it was beautiful and groomed. We were like, thank God. If we'd had to do some of that technical trail in the dark, I mean, God, stick a pencil in my eye. But it was, I mean, the out and back to Mount Bishop was a little bit technical, but nothing too terrible, except our lights started to go flat. So other than that, it was great. So we got down, we changed our head torches, so they got a little bit ahead in front of us. Sarah had fallen back a bit. Yeah. But she was fine. Like
Sarah, she openly said that she struggled a bit on the downhills. That's not really her thing. So when we were coming down off Mount Bishop, she kind of fell a little bit behind,
which was fine.
Yeah.
We all have our strengths and weaknesses.
That's it.
Anyway, so then we did our power walk.
Yeah, we got our march on.
Yeah, the swinging arms march, and we passed the two guys. Yeah. And then we just ran the hills, and every time we'd see those road signs with the wiggly arrows, one would go, "Oh, that's my legs, spaghetti legs."
My spaghetti legs looked an awful lot like those wriggly signs.
Yes. So then we had two beach running.
Having said that, we were both, our legs were quite trained, done, but we were still running. Yeah.
Absolutely. Even on the sand, we were walking, like we'd run for a bit, walk for a bit, run for a bit. I think we were doing really well. And up the hills, we were still really marching, we were. Because, of course, every time you go down onto the beach to go onto the sand, then you have to go up off the beach. And, so then we did all of that and almost went past the bridge. But luckily, I got out my map.
Oh, yes.
Right at the end.
Yep. Nearly,
It looked different.
Yeah, because we'd come over the bridge in the opposite direction at the start of the final 20K loop. And then when we came back to the bridge on the, to get back into the caravan park, it looked completely different.
Yeah. So it was.
Went straight past.
Yeah. So anyway, so then we headed back in, and we
got some lovely cheers from the people in the caravan park.
Oh my God, there was a group. Well, when we headed out on the 20K loop, it was there was a group there, and I think they were all having their Saturday night drinks. So, like I said, there's nothing better than the cheers you get from a bunch of drunk people. It was funny when we came back in, the guy went, "Oh, good on you, boys," and I'm like, "Boys and girls." And he went, "Oh," I don't think he said it. I don't even know if he understood what I said. He was probably that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it.
But I mean, that's happened to me before in the dark. They just assume that you're a guy, and that's fine. I don't really care. It's worse things to get upset about.
That's it.
So we came in and we got our after photo taken. So
and we were just, because we've just been for a nice loosening walk, and we were saying how in our minds, there was absolutely no difference between
how we look at the end,
how we looked at the start of the
because I was saying to Ron, I bet you can't even tell the difference.
And I was thinking, I'm wondering if we look at the photos and go, holy Jesus, did we really
look like shit? No, race, yes. I think we looked very much the same.
Nice.
We'll see. We'll put the photos up, and you be the judge once they're on, of course.
Because the adventurers, Ian was there.
Yeah.
Taking some photos at the start and finish, and you had a couple of people out on the course as well.
So once the photos are in, we'll put them out and you be the judge. I mean, I'm saying this now that I think we look the same. Of course, I haven't looked at them, so God knows, but it was still, at least we were both smiling in both of them. So just a great race. And where we were staying at the accommodation was the lodge, I don't know what else to call it, that Paul had booked. So a lot of the volunteers were there, and that was great to see.
And we had some nice chats to the people that were there.
Like Damien, who was sweeping the 100K, and he was a bit spewing because he didn't get to run the whole 100K.
Because his runner, the last place runner, got quite a bit behind the cutoff or behind the predicted time. So they had to get picked up by the medics, I think it was, or the rescue or someone.
Yeah.
And driven back to the start finish. So he was a little bit upset that he
so
said that the person sweeping the 60K race actually did more Ks than he did.
Oh no, I missed that bit. That's a bummer. We're laughing, but yeah. No, and it's funny because I met Damien at Buffalo just before coming up to Clear Spot on the return. So, it's just such a small world, and everyone's so friendly and lovely, like just so awesome. And like Annabelle was there, she was staying at the lodge, and she was there in the morning as a volunteer. And when we arrived at the end of the night, she was still there.
And still heard chirpy.
And still chirpy and cheering. She said, I'll go back to the lodge and get you your water, Isabel. I'm like, no, I feel guilty, because I wouldn't drink the tidal river water because I was being a princess again. But she volunteered, and I'm like, no, I felt too guilty to make. I did think about it, but then I'm like, no, Isabel, you can't do that. And she was just, just lovely, and everyone's so helpful. That's.
And of course, the Julies were there when we came through the aid station at the 80K mark. The Julies were there and so helping us out. And
it's like Julie at the party was there at Oxfam helping. She was helping with drink bottles and finding, Kevin's wife Sally and all those sorts of things. And like everyone is just always so happy to lend a hand and be nice and be helpful. And I mean, and that's the thing, like doing these 100Ks, I have become, since, I was sort of racing a bit, but since like my divorce, I've become a bit of a recluse and wasn't doing much or seeing people or going to races, just going to the very few races. And I was becoming a bit of a recluse, to be honest. I wouldn't run with people, do anything. And this is really opening me up again and getting me to see more people, and I'm really enjoying it. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good to, get out and catch up with people that you maybe haven't seen for a while and meet new people. Because we're all doing the same thing. We all obviously have the same interests. So it's
that's right. Yeah.
So it's really nice to get out there.
It's lovely. And everyone's so it's like, the ultra people have changed since when I first started. Like when I was telling them when I used to race, it was all the same group, and we would just see all the same group at all the races. But because I haven't raced for so long, the group's changed.
Yeah.
But like we said, I've seen Damien twice now, and we see other people again, and just getting to know new people and the new group.
Yeah.
And it's lovely because ultra running attracts lovely people. And so it's just really nice seeing everyone out there and getting to know a new group of people who are just as friendly and wonderful. And I'm sure we'll see a lot of them again at Princes Park and at Ultra Adelaide. Well, it'll be more the Adelaide crew, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So, and the one other thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact that it's putting me out of my racing comfort zone, because normally, as people know, I'm probably more well known for doing hard maintenance climbing ultras, those real rugged with heaps of elevation. But this is getting me to do different ones, like this coastal one. I would never have thought to do the Prom 100K before. I would do the shorter races there, but I would never have done the 100K. And certainly would never do the Princes Park 100K, Not that there's anything wrong with it, but, the thought of just running, I've done a 24-hour track race, but the thought of running around, a park for 100K, I'd prefer to do it in the mountains. But it's really getting me to do different races, different courses, and it's really good.
Yeah.
It's good to do something that's a bit hard for you, whatever that may be. Mm-hmm. And, Buffalo was a lot of climbing, but I've certainly noticed I've got more DOMs after the Prom, because in spite of the technicality and everything, it was a lot more running.
That's right, yeah.
So I'm sore in different ways, and also sore from all the different technicality. Yeah. Like the technicality at Buffalo is different to the technicality at the Prom.
Yeah.
And I'm just sore in different ways. So it's quite interesting and fun. And it is good not always to do the races that suit you, but sometimes to do the ones that won't suit you.
Yeah.
And in saying that, I came second female.
Yes, you did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There were only 6 women in the race, but that's okay.
But you came second.
So I came second female. That's it. So, it was, not that I'm not doing it for that sort of stuff.
It was a surprise. It was
a surprise. I just was going out there to get around the course, but it was nice, And we worked solidly the whole time. Like we weren't cruising, taking it completely easy at all, were we?
No. We were moving fairly relentlessly, just constantly moving.
Yeah, and we didn't, like, there was only 3 aid stations, I guess. One of them you went to twice. We didn't stop.
No.
I mean, you stopped at the 80K. You took off your shoe to get some.
Yeah, because I had some sand in my shoe that was kind of paining me a bit. So I sat down to take my shoes off, or my shoe off to drain that. And you tried to eat some noodles, but that didn't work. So you put
because I didn't like them, to be honest. You know, so which is fine. You know. But
we were probably in and out of there in 5 minutes. So
you know, I'm just not one to mess around in aid stations, because the longer you're in there, the longer you want to stay. And that's what Luke said, because at that aid station they stopped and he sat down, and he said he's never sat down. Well, he's only done 100K before, but he realised that was a mistake.
Yeah.
And also he sat in front of a fire. He said that was the other mistake.
Okay, right.
You know, because the fire's nice and warm, and then it's like, oh, and I've got to get up and leave the warm. So, I mean, in a miler, you might be maybe sit down, but in 100K, I think you can get away with not sitting down or stopping, quite frankly. I think you just need to relentless forward progress, just keep moving. You know, I think you're much better off to do that, because the sooner you get up and get out of that aid station and keep moving, the sooner you're going to be finished. I mean, not that we look forward to these races and then we're like, oh, I just want to be finished. But, you know, and we did enjoy the race, but by the same token, we did want to be finished.
I mean, part of that feeling is the feeling of finishing it.
That sense of accomplishment.
That's right. Yeah, it's not just, you know, you want it over and done with. You actually, the feeling that you get from actually finishing it
is awesome, isn't it?
Pretty good,
yeah. Like, it was good, wasn't it? Like, it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big hoo-ha. There was only a few people around, because once again, running wild events are nice grassroots rates, which is why we like them, because we're not into the big hoo-ha. And, you know, it was, but it was nice. It was people we knew. They were friendly. They were nice.
And the people that you've spent, you know, half your day running with or having contact with, because there was a few different out and backs here. We saw, you know, the people around us regularly.
And one of the guys that was there that had just finished, he was in the same lodge as us.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't remember his name.
No.
So, you know, and he was nice. And there was another guy who was there.
Damien Hughes was there. He finished a bit earlier.
Where we live.
I think, he'd finished a bit earlier, but he was waiting for Luke, I think.
Oh, was he waiting for Luke? Okay.
Because he asked, when we first got there, he asked, you know, if he was.
Okay.
So he was waiting at the finish line. I think it was maybe an hour or 2 hours.
I wondered why
after he finished.
Yeah.
And got chatting and realised that, you know, he sees us when we're out doing our weekend runs around Bayswater. So once again, it's one of the pleasant things about ultra running is, you know, now we've got someone that we can say g'day to when we're out running and see him, you know, in the neighbourhood.
Yeah. So it was such a good event, such a, you know, it just, I don't know, it just gave me that really good feeling.
Yeah.
You know, and
there were no terrible experiences.
No, I that whole race was good. The worst thing for me was the dizziness, I have to say. Even the foot, although that was bad, for me it wasn't as bad as the dizziness, because there was one point where I was a little bit concerned, if you remember, where I said I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to finish.
And you actually had me run in front so that you could focus on me.
Yes, just look at you, so I didn't have to look at the terrain per se. You know, or try to work out where you're going, because Ron could figure out the trail. I just had to follow him. And that certainly did help. That did help. But I was a little bit concerned because, you know, I didn't want to do something that was unsafe. And the dizziness at that point was starting to feel a little bit unsafe, but I really, really did want to finish. So, and I did, and it was not a problem. But like I said, it improved in the dark because there was no peripheral vision stuff to see. So thank God, because it was quite a bit disconcerting, to be honest. So that was the worst thing, which was totally not to do with the race, just to do with me. And everything else was beautiful course. I mean, we complain a bit about how tough the terrain was, but that just is.
It's part of trail running.
You know, really, it's part of trail running. And we just, you know, up in the Dandies, we just don't get that kind of technical trails.
No, we don't get the
rockets. You know, it's all file road. So, you know, basically you need to train to the terrain, but it's hard because I'm doing so many different races. with so many varied terrains, I'm not going to be able to train to the terrain.
Yeah.
If this was my singular year focus and I had 6 months to prepare for it, I would be training on that sort of terrain.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do. With my case, that's not possible. But, you know, if you yourself, dear listener, have a specific race in mind, you know, get onto Google Earth, look at the maps of the terrain, or, you know, look at the terrain in that area if you can. Or
maybe speak to some past.
Look at photos, you know, of the race. Like when I was going to England once to do the Three Peaks, it was one of the World Championship races. I was doing research on the race. I found a blog from a guy who had done the race. I emailed him so he could give me good descriptions of the race, because this was back in the day when there wasn't lots of stuff on the races around. And so you've got to do that kind of thing. And that's what I did. And he gave me heaps of info on what the course was like and all that sort of stuff so that I could prepare. Obviously, you know, it should be easier if you're in Australia looking at doing an Australian race. But even if you're going overseas, do your research, join the groups on Facebook. You've got all that sort of stuff now. You didn't have it back in my day, but you can do all that now and get information from people on the course. Obviously, their words are not gospel, because I had one person. Some people may have looked at the course and said it wasn't that technical, you know, but, you know, it still gives you an idea.
Yeah.
So do try to do training on similar terrain as much as possible. It's never going to be exactly the same. It's not going to be perfect, but just do the best that you can.
So, and so finally, what's next?
Princess Park.
So that's once again
24th of June, something like that.
What Isabel was just saying about training, you know, for the race, we're not going to spend the next 6 weeks running around a park.
No.
because there's other.
Yeah, because in August I'm going to be doing the one in Switzerland, which is, you know, heaps of climbing. So I'm going to be training for that. Because there's nothing worse, as evidenced by Buffalo, of that feeling of all that climbing with no mountains in your legs. Yeah. So I'd rather do that. I can just, because Princess Park is 2 weeks before Adelaide, so I don't want to wear myself out at Princess Park and then have nothing left for Adelaide. So I'm just going to take a pretty easy, cruisy run, walk Princess Park, because even just walking it, it'll still be a lot quicker than the others, because it is just a park.
Yeah.
And then you're going to run with me for Ultra Adelaide.
Yep.
And Grant is coming over too. He's going to do that one.
Oh, he is he?
Yeah, he was talking about it. He's in.
Oh, he's in.
So he better be training too. So he'll have to come out on some runs with us. That's Grant Scurry, who I've known from Knox Roadrunners days. So he'll have to come out and do some training with us, which means we might have to nail down a time on the weekend. Normally we just roll out of bed and are so lazy we just start running.
Our running starts when we've finished our toast.
Yeah, and our 45th coffee. Yeah. But we might actually have to set some times.
Yeah.
So that's Ultra Adelaide, and then after that we'll be going overseas, which we still haven't booked.
No, but we will.
Yes, so we've got to do that.
Yeah.
I've booked it in with my family. Let them know we're coming, so you know we're doing it. We're doing it.
Yep.
So that's the pod. Please give us feedback, give us your thoughts, check out our photos, tell us if we look the same before and after. I'm not going to say, I'm going to post them. I'm not going to say which is the before and after. Okay. I'm going to ask people to guess.
Okay.
What do you reckon?
Well, once again, I guess the truth will be in the photos.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, there shouldn't be any real difference. We're still wearing the same clothes.
Yeah. Don't even talk about yeah.
But I'm just wondering how obvious it'll be.
I reckon
we felt the same. We felt just, you know.
Well, did we?
Well, we were probably a little tired.
Didn't feel too bad.
No, and it wasn't a late big. I mean, we were finished by just after
20 past 10,
just after 10. So it wasn't like we'd been running all night or anything.
To be fair, though, it was later than we normally go to bed. But it's not like it was a 1 o'clock finish.
Yeah.
It was quite civilized hour, wasn't it? Yeah. So I mean, you be the judge.
Yes, you be the judge.
Yes. All righty. So thank you for joining us on the podcast. Don't forget to go to peakchocolate.com.au. Get your 15% off with Isabel Ross. That's still Ross. Those aren't going to change. No. Just to keep you on your toes and keep guessing, go to FlexBeam and get 10% off with Isabel Ross 10. I I've actually got it on my leg at the moment. I've just got to turn it around, put it on my calf. I had it on my shin. I took it down with me to the prom. People were asking about it. I just use it every day. Like, honestly, I just do. And with the peak chocolate, just saying, I make chia pudding for my morning tea, and I mix their chocolate drink in with that, and it's really yummy. Okay, a little tip. So the chia seeds, water, their chocolate, and some maple syrup.
Okay.
And it's a nice mix. And then I put berries on it. Nice. There you go. So did you want me to make you that for your morning tea? No, you sure?
No. Well, I don't have time between breakfast and lunch.
No, you don't. You have a late breakfast.
I don't have morning tea.
Yes. My day just revolves around eating. All righty. Anyway, enough about us. Thanks for joining us again. If you've got any ideas about who you would like us to interview, could you please DM us, email us, shoot us a text if you know us that well. Tell us at the next race. I don't know. Tell us who you'd like us to interview.
That's right.
And we'll see if we can do it. I mean, they've got to agree too. But All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Thanks for joining us. Have a good rest of your week, and we will catch you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.